Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast. We're sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined by the Chronicle Sports crew, Dylan Wilhelm, Zach Barton, and Kody Christian is absent.
Might be joining midway.
What's he off to tonight?
Was it some news thing? I don't know. I just got here.
Sounds real important.
He said he had photos to do.
Of course he did. We're getting closer to district tournaments. Are we? Is that accurate?
2 weeks away.
Yeah, like you're being a little
crazy.
No, we're 2 weeks
2 and a
away.
half.
Jumping the gun a little bit, boys.
No, it's closer than the start of the season.
Well, yeah. The gang was all over the coverage area since last week, and let's recap what Dylan, Zach, and Kody all witnessed on the hardwood. Well, at least what Dylan and Zach witnessed. We don't know what Kody really saw, where he was.
Cody saw a lot.
Was he? Did he?
He was there. He was
Sure,
around.
I'm sure he could speak on it if he was here.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan saw the Rainier girls throttle Onalaska 57-30. The PL girls and boys pick up wins over Three Rivers Christian, and Napavine beat Toledo 60-53. Dylan, give us some takeaways from each game, starting with Rainier Onalaska.
Yeah, so the game played out. You know, the score is obviously what the score is, right?
Would you call this a premier C2BL girls matchup or like a slightly below the top two?
Slightly below the top.
Okay.
I would say like whatever tier you want to call below premier.
Okay.
Whatever we want to call that. Very above average.
All right.
Anyways, so the score is what the score is. But when you look kind of quarter by quarter, Rainier started that game on an 11 or 12-0 run, and then they started the second half on a 12-1, 13-1 run. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember just kind of a general Rainier comes out of the gate strong both in the first half and the second half. Now, if you're on Alaska, you're already trailing by a bunch, and then the lead just gets more lopsided as the second half goes. That was kind of it. You know, Rainier is not a team that is going to give up a lead like that very easily. Especially an Alaska offense that was just struggling and just never really got going all night, as the 30 points would indicate. You know, we've kind of talked about how this girls C2BL, you know, there's those 5 teams that we expect to contend for the, you know, 4 state spots.
Napavine, Rainier, Onalaska,
and Tootle Lake. And they're all going to have to, you know, kind of face each other, beat each other up a little bit before playing each other again in districts, we'd assume, at some point. Ani and Tootle have kind of been those two teams that at least I've just kind of wondered on the outside, like, how do they fit in among those? To me, it's a clear top 3. Maybe now. I guess it wasn't as clear last time we potted. I think it's pretty clear now that it's Adna, Rainier, Napavine, 1, 2, 3. And then I think it'll be Ani and Tootle kind of battling for that 4th spot. That was kind of my takeaway, as much as you could take away from one game.
Yeah.
But when it goes like that. PL girls still undefeated, I believe.
What are they up to? Like 14-0?
13-0.
Something like that, yeah.
13, 14-0.
They just obliterated. I mean, they allowed 6 points. I think they won 52-6.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that'll work most nights. Their press defense is exceptional. Peyton Zock, she didn't have an incredible game when I saw her, but I just seeing box scores and seeing stats throughout the year is almost a walking double-double. Carly Phelps was, I want to say she was the co-MVP last year in that league. Just as good. They have an 8th grader, Maisie King, who just kind of brings an extra bit of tenacity on the inside. She isn't afraid to get after it, even though she's only in 8th grade. You know, she looks the part of a varsity basketball player, even at her age. And they've done all this without Brooklyn King, who suffered a foot injury right after, or a few games into basketball season. She did get a few games in.
Yeah.
So that's one of their best players that they're doing this all without. Not sure the timeline on when she'll get back. She was walking without crutches last I saw her. But again, specifics I'm not sure on. But yeah, they've been just kind of flying under the radar as one of the best teams in our coverage area, at least in the 1Bs for sure. So,
all right. And then the boys beat Three Rivers Christian?
Yeah, they didn't allow a lot of points either.
Okay.
I got at that game at halftime, I think, just because it was a boys-girls doubleheader, and they were up like 37-10. They ended up winning by 40. They're kind of in the middle of the pack of the CVL. I think they're 500, but like 4-2 in league play. So they've had some tough non-league games. And just talking to Coach Ross Hojum, a big thing for them is just kind of confidence. And a win like that obviously goes a long way when you beat a team by 30 or 40 points. It's just kind of been up and down for them, and he's hopeful that that win can kind of continue to, you know, keep them moving in the right direction after kind of a like I mentioned, kind of an iffy non-league slate, just some tough opponents, some tough games that didn't go their way. But yeah, they're right up there. I think they're third behind CAA and Wakaikum in the CVL. So those are two good teams. Like, there's no shame in being behind them.
All right, and then on to the C2BL, which we love so much. Napavine beat Toledo 60-53. So if I'm correct here, Napavine has beat Toledo. Toledo has beat Adna. Adna has beat Napavine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes, I believe Toledo's split with Adna. I think
They've all
played
beaten
twice.
at least each other once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the Napavine Toledo game before we get it. We'll get into the C2BL mix up at the top later.
This is one of those where this is going to sound dumb. Bear with me. If you couldn't see the scoreboard somehow and you were watching the game unfold, you'd be like, oh, Napavine's like up somewhat comfortably. Like, it's not a blowout, but Napavine's been in control most of the way. And then you look up with 30 seconds left and you're like, oh, Toledo's only down 3. It was just kind of a weird game in the sense that I guess Toledo was trailing the whole time, so that probably played a role into it. But it never really felt like Toledo was in control, except for this like tiny spurt at the end of the first quarter. But then they went into the locker room trailing at halftime. Napavine comes out in the second half, goes on like a 10-1 run, pushes the lead to double digits, and it's kind of just looking like one of those where it's like, okay, well, Napavine's just going to kind of get rolling, and if not pull away, they'll build this lead that they'll kind of just hold on. And, you know, all of a sudden, a couple threes with a few minutes left. There's a tech. You know, kid hits 1 or 2 at the line with the tech, gets a 3 off that, and all of a sudden it's a 3-point game with 30 seconds left, and Toledo has the ball. Obviously, they didn't hit the, you know, they didn't get a game-tying shot, and then some free throws kind of extended the lead.
Had to foul a little bit.
Just everything I've heard from, you know, we've talked about this top 5 on the girls' side. On the boys' side, I would put it as a clear top 4: Rainier, Rainier, Adna, Napavine, Toledo. Alaska's kind of in 5th right now, I believe, if I remember correctly, kind of hovering around 500. But of those 4, every time one of them plays the other, and I speak with a coach, they all have mentioned it's all in the back burner, like, we're all going to see each other again. Like, we're all going to beat each other at least once, probably. It's not like last year where Napavine could just run through league, run through districts. Yeah. There's just, you know, we kind of knew this, or we expected it going in, that it would be more of a jumble at the top. And that's what it's turned out to be, like you mentioned. And it'll be fun to watch because everyone's going to have to play each other a 3rd time, most likely, or even a 4th time potentially at districts eventually, or at state eventually. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to those a lot.
All right. On the other hand, Zach loaded up his schedule his first week back with a Thurston County rivalry matchup between Black Hills and Tumwater. Adna girls beating Napavine 32-29. Jesus. 32-29. The WFS girls dominating Shelton, and Tenino boys picking up a huge league win over Montesano. Let's start with the Black Hills Tumwater Pioneer Bowl on the court. How was that?
Yeah, both the girls' game was double overtime. It was just a crazy game. I texted Dylan
like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was at Black Hills until 10 o'clock at night on last week. Tumwater down early, rallied, and you know, deserved to win that game. I thought they were the better team. They played really well. Black Hills just struggled to shoot it. Tyler Venable had an off night. So did Kylie McMahon. Natalie Buchanan, nice little player for them, sophomore. She was their leading scorer. She played really well. Boys side, Tristan DeVille is now playing basketball for Black Hills. First time since his freshman year. He's given them a little more size, and it just gives them another element. I was really impressed with how he kind of took over in the second half to complete their second half comeback and win. Tumwater will be fine. I think there's enough talent on that Tumwater team to still potentially win league and maybe go on a run in districts. That was a real fun environment at Black Hills.
All right. The Adna girls beat Napavine 32-29.
Yeah.
That 32-29 looks like what you would see on the box score from Carson Freeman and Hayden Kaut.
Right. It was
in a typical
in any
CTBL
typical
evening?
game. Exactly. It was no one could buy a bucket. Adna couldn't buy a point. They didn't get on the board until a free throw late in the first quarter, and they didn't get a field goal until their first possession in the second. But they just kept, you know, they had really good defensive possessions. Napavine couldn't really run their offense to how they won in the second half, and a McKenna Torrey go ahead 3-pointer in the final moments of the fourth quarter prevailed, and they had enough stops at the other end to hold on. I was saying at halftime, I'm like, man, I feel like this game with the way it's going, 1st to 30 is going to win, and I got to 31st, and that ended up being the difference. It was I don't know if I can say like which team is better than the other. I think a second meeting, potentially a districts or state, will go a long way to telling, because both them clearly just had off nights. Freeman had an off night. Cout had an off night. So this was not to their fullest potential offensively, but I think it did give a glimpse on how good defensively both teams can be.
All right, the WFS girls beat Shelton handily,
running clock in the 4th quarter.
Okay. Any quick takeaways there?
They're really good.
Okay. Tenino boys beat Montesano for a huge league win. How did that look?
Tenino was down by 6 at half. They scored the first 11 in the 3rd. Austin Gagne finished with 21. He was by far the best player on the team. He puked in a wastebasket just before the 3rd quarter started.
Oh, puke watch, great.
And he proceeded to score 9 in the 3rd quarter. So he played excellent. Preston Snyder, Ashton Moore had a couple just loose ball hustle plays that end up being the difference. It was that was the type of win that Tenino really needed to not only get back into contention for the Evergreen title or league title, but just to get some confidence back and try to turn around their season from a 2-11 start.
All right. And then Kody, we have some notes to talk about him, but nothing
He's not
there.
here. He did get a great photo of Tumwater Sahara Anthony III, had his eye cut up, and
oh yeah, that was a cool pic.
That was a fantastic photo by Kody.
There's also a note here on the highlight of the Adden-Appleton game being an early contender for Facebook Comment of the Year. It was a long comment airing a lot of grievances with you all's coverage of Adden-Appleton sports over the last year and your clear biases against one team. I read the comment and took some issues with it, but upon further reflection, it just sounds like somebody that's, maybe not in the best state of mind. And I think we should just leave it alone.
Fair enough. I couldn't believe it. I
started laughing.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Global Septic, providing septic service and sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. Septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, porta potty rentals, portable sinks to go with your porta potties. When you got to go with Global, as our hero Chad Taylor always says. Visit globalseptic.com, GOEBEL septic.com, or give them a call, 360-736-2167. And now I'll run through some local standings, starting with girls in the EVCO. WF West, any guesses? They're in first. 4-0, followed by Tumwater and Shelton, each sitting at 3-1. WF West beat Tumwater, didn't they?
Yep.
How close was that?
Not very.
Okay.
Yeah. Second time.
That was the game Bennett set her assist record. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then Black Hills and Aberdeen are 1-3. Central's 0-4. The first Swamp Cup meeting is tonight. I would say WF West is favored.
I would also lean that way.
The second time through the league schedule starts on Thursday between Black Hills and Centralia. Who do you feel is more likely to turn it around?
I think Black Hills.
I would also say Black Hills. I am very surprised at how slow they've gotten off to, the start they've gotten off to in league play. If you had told me that them and Tumwater would be flipped, I wouldn't have been shocked.
Because Tumwater's a lot younger than Black Hills
Yeah.
is. Black Hills is a little more experienced, but they're not shooting the ball well right now. But when they are starting to shoot, I feel sorry for any team that's going to stand in their way.
Yeah. Like Kylie McMahon, Natalie Buchanan, Tyler Venable, when those three get going, they're going to score 60 points a game at least.
I do think Centralia is improved from last year. They are
100%.
They are much scrappier this year. I think Brooklyn Sprague has upped her game another level from last year, and they won't go away quietly. They'll in most league games they're going to be in it in the second half. So, I think that if they get Aberdeen and Black Hills a second time, you never know. It's basketball. It's a weird game sometimes.
Yeah, because only one's gonna. We have to kind of when it comes to district, Shelton just does its own thing. So it's really just one of these 5 teams that gets left out. I'm interested to see Centralia tonight because their 2 games last year against WF West were just not competitive. Like Aaron kind of alluded to, I would be shocked if they could pull off an upset tonight, but I am curious to see, if they can keep it close, how competitive they can be, because like you just mentioned, they are better than last year. They have taken some steps. I'm curious to see how that plays out against, clearly not just the class of the FCO, but a true state contender.
All right. And yeah, WF West, we do consider, what is the outlook if you were putting a baseline, happy, sad on their season? Final 4? I think they're probably like a Final 4 team, aren't they?
Yeah, Final 4. If they get to the Final 4, I think they're happy.
I think the quarterfinal is like their floor, and that's if they happen. We were talking yesterday, like 2A is still pretty good. Like eventually you're going to have to play your Archbishop Murphys, your Ellensburgs, your Lindens,
your Prossers.
Yeah. And I guess theoretically if they get one of those tough matchups in the quarterfinal, but I don't see a reason they can't get to at least the Final 4 and, place top 5 or whatever.
Yeah, I think the seeding committee will throw them in the top 4 for sure.
I think, but I know Kyle is, when I talked to him preseason, like the big thing he wants is just a trophy to leave Yakima with. So I think if they get a trophy, for them, they'll consider that a successful season.
All right. In the 1A Evergreen, Tenino would be in the district tournament if the season ended right this second. They are 1-4 and 4th in league. Rochester is 0-4, but could the Warriors spring an upset and sneak in? Does Caleb Sells have the boys firing on all cylinders?
Well, this is girls.
It's boys or girls?
Oh, this is girls?
This is girls.
Well, all right.
We talk about Centralia's growth. I think Tenino has grown a lot as well over last year. Kirsty Gofinch is in her first year there, and she said time and time again just on the phone, like she's been pleasantly surprised with the progress that they've made and the fight they've showed, even in some of these games where the score gets a little non-competitive, but they just wouldn't go away, or at least they wouldn't stop, and that's kind of paid off with some of the they've topped Rochester, I believe. They've gotten a few wins here and there. I want to say they had like an 8 or 9 game losing streak, and they've won
4 games. Two of the last 4,
3 or 5 maybe. But anyways, yeah, it's starting to come together a little bit, almost like the boys' side where, the boys were waiting to see like when they're going to get it together. Now both of these teams are kind of just progressing and stringing together some wins here.
And the girls are very young too. Like they've got a couple 8th graders that are playing significant minutes for them. The future for
2 seniors,
if they keep it up and they stay with it, then Tenino girls are going to be
3 seniors.
Yeah, they could be. The Tenino girls could be pretty good in the next couple years down the line as well if these girls keep with it and keep getting better.
All right, on to the C2BL. It's crowded at the top. Adna is the last undefeated team at 3-0, and again, they only go through once, right?
Yes,
so
girls go through
8
once.
league games.
Okay, Napavine's 3-1, Mossy Rock's 2-1, Rainier's 2-1, Toodle Lake is 2-1, and Toledo is 1-1. So they're all even in the loss column, despite having winning records overall. Morton White Pass and Onalaska do not have a league win. Some key matchups to look forward to. Toodle at Adna tonight. We find out if Toodle Lake is for real. Napavine at Mossy Rock tonight. Onalaska at Toledo tonight. Mossy Rock at Toodle Lake Thursday. Napavine at Rainier next week. Adna at Mossy Rock next week. Rainier at Toodle Lake next week. Any predictions? Will Adna stay undefeated?
I think so.
Yeah. If they get by Toodle Lake tonight, then the rest, they don't, like their next, the other game that they still have to play against those 1-loss teams, they have to play, I believe, Toledo and Mossy Rock. And they're better. I think they're better than both of them. So if they get by Toodle Lake tonight, then I think they'll finish the year unbeaten in the league.
All right. Have any of your minds changed on who you think are the best teams in the league?
I need to
I
see
don't
more.
remember what I said last week.
I need to see more from Onalaska. I need to see some more competitive games from Onalaska. The talent is clearly there, but to be at 0-3 in the league, like they got to pick it up pretty quickly.
We were talking to yesterday about Onalaska, like, I think they have the talent to make a run at districts and grab one of those state spots, but when you get to state, quote unquote, where you end up 1-16 in that opening round, if they're, 11 or below and they have to go east against a team that, can play, better defense and shut down Emily Jacoby to where they have to kind of get other scores going and kind of just have different outlets. I'd be curious if they'd be able to do that. That's not something they can answer, right away, but it's something they can maybe try to figure out here over the last couple of weeks.
I think I'm curious how Mossie's going to be competitive-wise with Napavine and Adna on their schedule here in the next week. If they can keep them close and, maybe pull out an upset, I think that's going to be real eye-opening to see if Mossy is for real.
Adna, Tootle, Rainier, Onalaska, and Napavine are all in the top 10 of the RPI board. Let's see. And finally, the 1B Columbia Valley PL, 13-0, as discussed, 6-0 in league. Oakville, third place, 10-5, 4-2. What are the chances PL is perfect heading into not only districts, but the opening round of state? Awfully presumptive.
You keep looking at me. I didn't write the notes today.
Yeah, that was me.
Awfully presumptive, Zach. PL is merely 7th on the RPI board.
How dare I think that's disrespectful.
I think the committee needs to take a long, hard look at PL.
Their last tough game in the regular season will be at home against Wahkiakum, who's second in the league. And they've already beaten them pretty handily the first time.
Did it beat them 54-12?
Yeah. And the Coastal.
This is their next tough game. You're telling me?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, yes. And the Coastal is not very. The Coastal isn't very top. Is not very good. They've already beaten a cell. Handily.
Willapa Valley looks like too. Willapa Valley could be a time. I mean, they only beat them by 26.
Yeah, Valley's. Valley's around 500.
I think they're. I would be stunned if they're not a top 4 to top 6 seed for 1B. They should be the heavy favorites to win the district title, and I would think that they're going to be a top 8 seed for state. And so I think it's pretty. I put it at well over 55% that they're going to be unbeaten heading into the opening round of state.
Yeah, the only drawback I see is Nacelle is 13th on the RPI board, and there is nobody else really on the west side in the top 23.
Yeah, I just don't know much about the 1Bs outside of the
CBL
and Coastal, and
they've already beaten Nacelle, so I think who knows?
It was close though.
What was it again? 20-something?
It was.
Or was that Wahkiakum?
That was Wahkiakum. The Nacelle score was 55-39.
Oh, okay.
So a 16-point win.
It's probably one of their closer games of the year.
I think that is their closest game of the year.
That was in PL too. They got to go to Nacelle. That's a tough place to play.
No.
This podcast brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center. It invites you to take a tumble on the Serta iComfort mattress and get a discount when you. Oh wait, that one doesn't have the credit card thing. I don't think. Maybe it does. But hey, check out the new Serta iComfort collection. You got all kinds of good stuff in there. These mattresses look so comfy. They've even got little sleep settings or a 5-zone response design. There's all these little different sheeps doing different things in the mattress to illustrate how well you will sleep. Incredible stuff.
Dream of sheep.
Yeah.
Counting sheep.
Counting sheep.
Visit Elam's Home Furnishings at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia, or check them out online at elamshf.com. We move on to the boys' side now, starting in the EVCO. Black Hills has an unblemished 4-0 record in league, and Tumwater is a half game back at 4-1. WFS and Aberdeen are each 2-2, and Centralia is 0-4. The first of the Swamp Cup games is Wednesday night in Chehalis. How do we feel going into that one?
I don't know how to get a barometer on that. WFS has been a little underwhelming for the most part, and Centralia is kind of first-year coach, didn't really know what they were going to be. I thought they'd be a little bit better than 2-12, but maybe I was being overzealous on what Jordan Thomas can do in his first year.
Yeah, it just feels like both teams. I mean, obviously the records indicate this, but I kind of expected more from both teams. More specifically, WF West. They still have a lot of talent. They only lost a couple guys from last year. It's almost like the Tenino boys, where it's kind of just like, you got to get going, and we're getting to a point in the year where, at some point you are who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Like we got to get this going. We got to figure it out. If you're Chehalis, I think they're going to try to use this as kind of a springboard game moving forward. But obviously it's a rivalry, and I'm sure Centralia will not want to be that for them.
All right. Who is your favorite to win the league right now?
Black Hills.
Black Hills, I think.
Yeah, I think adding DeVille gives them. It's another element. It's some more size. They've got 3 really good 3-point shooters in the Morrell twins and Peyton Fott. James Morgan is their go-to slasher, and DeVille is just brings some energy. And Jackson Beck can come off the bench and knock down a 3 if he needs to.
If anyone knows what the tiebreakers are beyond head-to-head, please send them to sports@crownline.com, because if Tumwater wins that rematch and they both only lose 1 league game, I wouldn't know who. I don't know what the tiebreakers are.
What it used to be, they had a whole list of criteria, and one of the next ones was
record against playoff teams.
That was in there. Margin of victory, but anything over 10 points counts the same. So margin of victory in close games, I think it was. And then it goes through a few more. And then the last one is numbers drawn from a hat. So
Is that better or worse than a coin flip?
I'd rather have a coin flip. you got a 50-50 shot. I don't want a random number drawn from a hat.
Presumably you also do in the nobody's going to have more numbers in the hat. Anyway, so moving on to the 1As. Montesano and Tenino are tied at 4-1, and if both of them run the table and finish 7-1, the winner of the league's number 1 seed for districts could come down to RPI. Is this for real?
Yeah, that's what Bamer told me afterwards. He said that if it's 7-1, they all tie throughout the tiebreakers. He said the last one it could be RPI.
Are you sure he wasn't just taking it for a ride?
He could have
playing with your heart a little bit.
He could. I mean, he did ask. He did ask before the game. He goes, "Man, they let you get on paternity leave." I was like, "The hell's that supposed to mean, Bamer?" What are you trying to say? What are you trying to insinuate?
This man have a baby.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Meanwhile, Rochester picked up its first win of the season over Centralia, but they lost a heartbreaker to Hoquiam 51-50. Is Tenino back?
Yes.
100%.
I'll say yes.
All right. Do we give Rochester a shot at sneaking into the top 4?
Now this is your Caleb Sells. Now we can talk about Caleb Sells in Rochester.
Does he have the boys sneaking in?
You know what?
I got a bold standings.
I think there's a shot, but they've got to win 2 league games and hope Hoquiam doesn't win. And they've got to beat Hoquiam the second time, and they probably will have to beat Elma. I don't know if they're talented enough to beat Monty. I think the second game against Tenino could be interesting if Tenino has another offensive struggle and Rochester's shooting it well. Sells has been really happy with the progress his boys have made this year. It hasn't shown up in the wins, but for his first year, he does feel like there has been a lot of progress made from the first game to now, which is what you want to see. And that's been the good thing, is that there is noticeable progress.
Yeah, that Hoquiam loss is, I think, going to end up being their downfall, unfortunately. That's one you really would have liked to have, because you still have your next 3 league games are Elma, Monty, and Tenino. And you're going to have to grab at least one of those and then go to Hoquiam and hope Hoquiam doesn't win any others. That's a lot to have to happen here in this final week.
Rochester was up in the 4th. They were up for the most of that game. They were up in the 4th quarter, and then Hoquiam drew a foul in the final seconds and hit one of 2 free throws to win it.
All right. Shifting to the C2BL. Adna and Napavine are tied at 10-1 in first. Toledo alone in third at 9-3. And Rainier is fourth at 7-4. Onalaska 6-6, and 3 teams. Winlock, Mort White Pass, and Mossyock are all 3-9. The second meeting between Adna and Napavine is 8 days away, and that is in
Napavine.
All right.
That's going to be a packed standing room only house.
Yeah? Who you got?
Adna.
Okay.
I think they're
I'm
going
going
to
to Napavine.
Okay.
I'm going to Napavine. Those are 2 good teams. They'll split.
Yeah.
I had to park on someone's lawn last year, basically, for Adna and Napavine, so apologize to that guy.
Yeah. That's just bad job by you.
I got there too late.
Yeah.
I got there on time, but I didn't have
on time.
Get there early. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was bad. But
all right. The top 3 have all beaten each other at least once. So who should the favorite to win league be? Sounds like you guys are going Napavine, Dylan, and Adna,
Yes.
Zach.
Go ahead.
No, I think it should be. I think you can make a case for either one of those 3. I think a stronger case can be made for Adna, because I think while I believe Napavine probably has the best individual player in the league, I think Adna has the best team and collection of talent that will end up being the difference in why I believe Adna gets the second meeting against Napavine.
That is exactly what I'm thinking. I'm just kind of putting more eggs into the single player basket. Denault didn't have that great of a game against Adna the first time. I think he shot like 3 of 20. Not that great of a game is actually an understatement. He had a pretty bad game, and I think he'd be the first to admit that. I think he'll be fired up for that second game, and I think if he plays better at home, if he gets going from deep especially, I think that they can take that one.
Okay.
And they'll meet again. You know, that was the district championship last year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that happened again.
Yeah, wouldn't stun me either.
All right. Of those 3-9 teams that would be in the district tournament, which one is the most dangerous? Winlock, Morton, White Pass, or Mossy Rock?
I'd say Morton for the same reason I say Napavine. They have one guy that can take over.
Yeah.
Judah Kelly can put up 30 any given night, even against some of these top teams, and especially against, some of the lesser teams from the P2BL and, some of these other lower ranking teams. It's like those Cinderellas with like the sharpshooting guards at March Madness where they get like random edits on TikTok made from them because they hit 7 threes in some random game.
Yeah.
Just imagine Judah Kelly, just one shining moment, 8 threes in a district game. It's not likely, but it could happen.
I think it's Mossy Rock, and I believe coaching matters, and I trust Tom Kelly more than a lot of coaches in this league or in this area. Come the postseason, I think when you bet against Tom Kelly, you're on the wrong side of a bet. Mm-hmm. So I think Mossy Rock could potentially put something together and maybe
is he all right now? I thought I had heard he was having some health problems.
This is news to me.
That, no.
Okay, if he is, I hope he's doing better.
Same.
Yes.
Perhaps I was misinformed. I don't know. Okay. Let me see. Dylan, are you starting your future TikTok? Judah Kelly was a problem.
That's his new. That's
I
his new
headed
avenue.
to WF West High School for the first round.
You got to pronounce the name of the school wrong though. I headed to Issaquah High School. Finally, in the 1B Columbia Valley, PL is 4-2. Oakville is 2-3. Both of them are looking for district tournament bids. Do you think they'll get there?
They're PL's 3rd, Oakville's 4th. So right now it's looking like they both will. They don't play each other for the rest of the season. I think there's a good shot that both them get in, and who knows what can happen.
Oh, Firm Foundation. They got to get Firm Foundation off this standing screen.
They only play 2 games against the Washington School for the Deaf.
Firm Foundation is currently listed as 1st in the CVL, and I was like, how does that make sense? They're 1-0. Can we remove them from?
They're only playing 2 games this year,
but yeah.
So I think that they will not count.
How are they only playing 2 games?
I checked on Arbiter. They're only playing 2. They're playing 2 games against the Washington School for the Deaf. That's it.
They beat them 55-9 the first time.
Okay.
And their logo is just the Philadelphia Eagles logo.
Hell yeah. All right, this podcast is brought to you by AmeriCool Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is their business. They offer full-service HVAC installation services and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee on everything they do. Visit west.americoolonline.com to learn all about their services, or if you are having a heating or cooling emergency, give them a call at 360-669-8778. And finally, we'll close this out with some wrestling.
Yeah, a lot of good wrestling over the weekend. I'm pulling up start with the boys. Probably the best was Black Hills, 2 lightweights, Roberto Rivera Jesus, and then Cash Booze. They won titles at the River Ridge Rumble. Roberto won at 106. Booze won at 126. Peyton Hernandez also at the River Ridge Rumble. I think he's now 30-1 on the season. He had a pin and then 3 straight tech falls to win at 132. Centralia had a couple of runner-up finishes. Dasha Denenclaw and Ronan Blair at 150 and 215. WF West, Kalen Holman and Tucker Land were runner-up at Rumble in the Valley. There were 4 teams at the Doug
Makiwi
Memorial Tournament. PL had Blake Burnett at 157 pounds, and then Ethan Noble at 175 win. Toledo had Bomani Birdwell. He's now at 20 and I think 3 on the season. He won at 190. Alex Richards for Adna won at 113 pounds. Girls wise, Emily Maloney was won at River Ridge Rumble. WF Western Centralia finished top 5 overall. Centralia had Eva Reinitz and Jocelyn Navarro win at 115 and 100 pounds. Sloan Kruger for Black Hills won at 105, I believe. And then Haley Goodrich from Winlock won the 120 pound bracket at that same Doug Milwaukee Memorial Tournament. So good weekend for the wrestlers. WF West is hosting a wrestling tournament this weekend. Black Hills and Tumwater boys and girls are going to be at the Matman Classic up north in Silverdale, Washington. And then the Kalama Rubber Chicken invite is this weekend.
Oh, classic.
I love wrestling tournament names.
Most of the 2B teams are going to be there.
All right. What do you guys got coming up the next few days you want to talk about?
I'm going to Winlock Mossy Boys tomorrow, I believe. And I'm not sure yet. We're going Thursday. It's kind of a jam-packed schedule.
Dylan is abandoning me this weekend.
Oh, yeah? You're going to be left in charge, left to your own devices, huh?
Yeah.
I will be at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh,
for
congratulations.
Bills Chiefs.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So, I'll have Tudor Lake Adna tonight. Swamp Cup boys tomorrow. Don't know what my Thursday or Friday looks like, and don't know what my Saturday looks like for coverage. Might go up to that wrestling tournament in Silverdale because it's only an hour north of where I live. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll see.
All right. If somebody wants to follow you guys on social media, where can they do that?
I am DM Wilhelm225 on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Zach_Martin95 on Twitter. I don't know what my Instagram is.
Cronline Sports on Twitter, the Chronicle Sports on Facebook. We're getting active on that again after.
Yeah, and the commenters are thrilled.
After not using the Facebook for a while, I just started using it again because I should, or we should.
Yeah,
so.
we should. Starting to get more active on our Chronicle Sports Twitter and social and Facebook pages. So,
all right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games.